Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 42 of Sir Kevin Says, Friends Edition. Today we got the homie on here, Danny Herrera, or Herrera, if you are of the English speaking language. Danny is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for over, 10 years?
Man, 2007, I want to say.
2007.
That's when I met you, 2007.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When did that video go up with Carlos? We did a drum video.
That was, that was like, I would say late 2007.
Yeah.
Because I remember that was the year I graduated high school. So, still in my mind.
Yeah.
And that year, I remember Carlos hit me up. I was like, hey, I want to do some like a drum shed. I want to make it all Latino. I was like, yeah, I'm down. And I'm thinking like, who's he going to invite? And when I show up, I don't know anyone, but all right, cool. And I remember you say, you're getting down with the cowbell. I'm like, oh, my bad. I got too excited. It was like, I'm like, damn, he's just dope. And I forgot the other guys, man. But
I can't remember the other guys either. Is the video still up on YouTube? It's somewhere on YouTube. I know that much.
I don't think it's not, because I was trying to like.
Oh, they removed it, or
I think Carlos brought it down. Carlos, put it up again.
Well, we have Danny on the show today. I want to read this because I told Danny to give me a bio, and it's pretty dope. So, Danny R. What does the R stand for?
So my middle name is Roberto.
Yeah. Robert. Danny Robert Herrera. Okay. Born in Los Angeles and raised in San Fernando Valley, California, Danny felt the call in his life at a very early age. You're talking about being involved in ministry, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He grew up at the house of best friend, or La Iglesia.
Casa del Mejor Amigo.
Casa del Mejor Amigo, yeah. And began his musical career playing drums in a traditional church. Danny has performed on television programs such as Univision, Telemundo, NBC, and with other bands and artists such as Eric Borta, Marcos Witt, Lucia Parker, Ingrid Rosario, right? Samuel Hernandez, Luis Enrique Espinosa, Joshua Chavez, Roberto Orellana, Reza Saleh, Elfa's Friends, Indonesia, New Ritual, among others. Danny is also on tour with Latin gospel artist Eric Borta, which also includes recording his latest album, Lenguaje del Cielo, live at Monumento de Revolución in Mexico City, where 28,000 attendants showed up. Is that the biggest you've played in front of?
Yeah, man.
That's incredible, dude.
Can I tell you a quick story about that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Once we're ready to record, the first song, as I'm hearing on our in-ears, we get the I meant to say click.
The guide?
Guides, yeah. So as I'm getting the guide, something triggered my mind. And as I'm looking out to the public, I'm like, dude, I'm having a deja vu moment. Because I've dreamed about this. And it was like that dream, if I would say, I think it was around in my early teen years. Like you mentioned my church, it was Casa del Mejor Amigo. I grew up in a church where like max was 150.
Wow.
And so, we're not talking about a big church. I didn't come out of a big church. It was really small. Like I love the people there.
Yeah.
Till today, some of them I still stay in contact. So I remember like we would have sometimes these special guest preachers. And one of them I'll never forget, like he said that, God's going to be taking you to different places and, just prepare yourself. And so years later on until that recording, I remember just looking around like, oh, snap. Like, I don't know if I'm sure it's happened to you and it's happened to a lot of us that where you have these dreams that like exact same details you see around, that's what you thought you had in that dream years ago. I'm like, man, this is really going on. Like, I was crying there. Wow, I was crying there. And I'm like, you know what? Thank the Lord, because, I wouldn't be here if it was him, first of all. And I was just grateful.
That's amazing,
And
dude.
from there, I just went on forward, and then I had a cramp in the first song.
You had a cramp?
I got too excited. I'm like freaking pounding the kick so hard because I'm excited. I'm like, and then like, and I'm like, this won't come on the video, but like, I'm like, all right, let's get back.
Dude, was your church Pentecostal?
Yeah.
So my church was the same too. Growing up, and I remember, man, I was always so afraid to go to the altar because everybody does altar call, right?
Yeah.
And they'd come and they'd pray for you. Sometimes the prophets would announce, or not announce, but basically speak over your life what you're going through in the mic. And then other people would be more respectful and talk personally to you. I respected that more than actually everybody knowing what the heck I'm doing in my life, right? So I was always afraid. I was like, oh, I don't want to go up there because this guy's going to tell me that I need to do this and I need to be more involved in ministry, you know, whatever. So prophecy was always a scary thing for me, man. But then when people actually would speak into your life in a positive way and it coincides with the word of God, it's amazing when it comes to pass, you know, and you see that God's goodness, God's favor, God's grace truly is upon your life, you know? So those are the amazing moments, you know. When not on the road, you can find Danny drumming every Sunday at his church, RTLA. Danny has a passion to help young musicians that are developing their skill by mentoring and supporting their frequent drum accessories, drumheads and all that. So you provide. So how does that work? What do you do?
That little detail that I share with you, it was mostly me on the road.
Okay.
Because I think it was three years ago. I lost count because you know how pandemic has made us lose track. But I think 3 years ago on the road with Eric, we did a Guatemala tour.
Okay.
And so in one of the cities, I don't know if you ever heard of Almolonga. So this town is, from what I've heard, is 95% of the citizens there are Christians.
Wow.
So they have witnessed a miracle of seeing their vegetations. Like, you know, they crop carrots, cabbages, to be exactly detailed, right?
Yeah.
But the carrots is what stand out most to me because, you know, when we go to the grocery stores, our carrots look like, you know, either baby carrots or like small carrots. Dude, their carrots, when I saw it in person, it almost looked like like a brick of sticks. Like when we receive brick of sticks from either companies, that's massive, what it looked like to me. I'm like, what the heck? Are they using chemicals? Like, no. And then from what I was told, that one of the pastors that we ended up playing at his church, he told me that no, like this is all a miracle because we all decided to give our offerings and tithes to the Lord, and we all accepted Jesus Christ, and we pray for a miracle because this town was dying. So after that, like I read a bio of that as well at the location that it said that it used to just transport like 2-3 trucks a day. Now it's like almost, if I'm not mistaken, it was around 500 to 800 trucks of vegetation going out, and that's how they're making their income. So yeah, dude, like that's a little bio of that story. But I remember that one specific location. I've always had, and it was a blessing, I've always had like these young dudes that would come up and say, hey, can I help you? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, come and help me out. And they'll help me loading my stuff. You know, I only travel with cymbals and snare, not like a drum set.
Yeah.
So they would help me out at the end. Like, they'll help me to pack up. So I'd never ever seen him as like a drum tech. Like, that's the wrong concept, you know?
Yeah.
I always seen him as like someone that wants to serve. You know, they're trying their way to please God, number one. So if that's their way to serve, like, you know, let's do it. But the point of that is that I'll never forget this one dude that really hit my heart, because as we're setting up that day, we had an earthquake. So an earthquake, like it said, one of the guys after the earthquake, he's like, oh, it's a 4.5. Like, that's not a 4.5. This felt like a 7 point something. I'm like, so it is true. Like, our earthquakes here, like we have in LA, it's like, yeah, we like, oh, earthquake. But theirs is like, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
And then after that, like, I'll never forget, like, him and I, we like got so along, like, yeah, because in LA this happens and our earthquakes, and people are like, oh, earthquake.
Right.
And here is like, you guys were like, we're fine. I'm like, I don't feel fine. What's going on? So we connected so well that day. And at the end, not to make it like a long story, I remember that I had a spare head in my snare bag. And so I always carry them with me, because it's not my intention that maybe it'll pop on the road, but my intention is to give those away.
Oh, wow.
So that's why.
Dude, that's amazing. That's so cool.
That's my my goal every single time. And so I gave him, I told him, hey man, thank you so much. I want to give this to you as, you know, I'm grateful for your help. You helped me out, your friendship. I really appreciate it. Well, let's follow each other on social media. Here, I'm gonna give you these, I'm gonna give you this snare head, and I'm gonna give you 2 pairs of sticks, as a thank you. Dude, I had him crying and
Man.
bawling in front of me. And he was like, I've been praying and praying and praying for this
Wow.
because in our town it's hard to find these
Yeah,
things.
come around that.
Yeah. And to be specific, when you give in Latin America, if you give a drummer a Remo drumhead, it's like saying I'm giving you the top-notch
Yeah.
expensive equipment that they can't get over there. For us, it's like, Remo, Evans,
Exactly. It's like
Corian.
it's standard over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Evans is very common out there, but Remo to them is expensive.
Mm.
So I gave him a Remo, and then he's like, dude, like in Spanish, right? Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. He was crying, gives me a big hug. And at the end, I'm like, man, this is what God is really calling me for.
That's powerful.
It's not just me, like, oh, hey, I'm here, like traveling. It's like,
yeah.
there's a purpose why God sent me in this location.
Yeah.
And there's always purposes for every action in our lives.
Exactly.
So it connects to what I just told you,
Yeah.
like about that dream I had in the live recording. So yeah, man. And then ever since that day, I've always been doing that, mostly in Latin America. Because here in the US, we have easy access to go to Guitar Center or any other local
Exactly.
music stores. But out there, like, they don't really have much of that. And so that's always been my goal, as like to help those that are helping me, So
That's amazing, dude. That's so cool. Let me ask you this, because I've always found it interesting, man. I haven't visited Latin America as much as you have.
Yeah.
But compared to American faith, right? Where, for example, people that are going through some type of disease or sickness here in the States, it's a lot easier to get help as far as healthcare and try to fix the problem through medication, through supplements, through vitamins, whatever. If, someone's facing cancer of some sort or some type of, disease, where in other countries, you can't just go to the doctor. You can't just visit the pharmacy or the clinic and be like, this is what I have. How can you help me? It's like they resort to their faith and nothing else. Do you see miracles happen more in person out there in the countries that you visited more than you have here in the States? Or do you think it's comparable in any way?
Man, that's a good question. What I've really seen is that faith, and I'm not saying us here in America is like, we're like too liberal. I don't want to say that either.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that in Latin America, faith is practiced a lot more than here. And I'm not saying we don't practice it. We all like have our levels of having faith. But out there is like they're living the real life scenarios. They're sometimes living with wars that we probably don't even hear of. Like we hear about them like deal with diseases, sickness that can be like, death threatening.
Exactly.
Here, like we're blessed to say that some of us have health insurance.
Right.
So we tend to rely so much on man here that we're just like too comfortable. It's a blessing. I'm not gonna say like, we're like it's bad. It's a blessing that we have all these things that provided for us in the United States. But out there, it's tough where like faith, I want to say, is practiced a lot more out there than here. That, it should be the same way here. Even though like we're comfortable in our own little bubble here. I want to say bubble because a lot of us don't realize what's really going on out there. We're just probably getting the little details on the news.
Yeah.
But it's living it out there and seeing it in real life. Man, you get to see God's greatness in these type of experiences. Like, but I want to say it's just it has to do with what your surroundings are like.
Yeah. We have alternatives here. We have options.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, like we were talking about health insurance and, we have our doctors or, people that we go to for help whenever we feel sick or something's wrong with our body.
Yeah.
But most people in third world countries don't have that option. So it's like, okay, either God's going to heal me or he's not. It's not that God heals everybody. I understand that it's God's sovereignty in that way. But it's just a question I had because you've been visiting, all these different countries and have played at these amazing places.
At the end, I want to add to that is what my pastor just said yesterday at church, that we don't leave this earth until God says yes or no. He's the one that says, when your mission is accomplished, you're done.
Yeah.
And so God is the one that allows life into us.
Yeah.
So if it's your time to move on to eternal life, he's gonna call you over.
Yeah.
But it all has to do with like once your mission is done here, like, doing your part in spreading the gospel, doing your part of being an influence that can be, part of it can be a mission as to bringing the gospel to other souls.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows when is going to be our last day.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like for me, I faced death one time, where I meant to say I'm almost died. I meant to say,
Yeah.
where like I thought, okay, I'm done. Like I was in a car accident. The car spun in the middle of the freeway. The last thing I remember, I had an 18-wheeler behind us, and I was in the middle of the van, so I wasn't driving. I'm like in no seat. I'm
my
like covering
gosh.
myself. I'm like, man, I'm gonna die right here. As soon as we're done spinning, I kind of look up, and then we're facing traffic. I'm like, oh snap! Here comes the 18-wheeler. I'm done. And I just heard him braking so hard and hard and hard until he got off. And then he's like, you guys all right? He's like, yeah. So at the end right there, I learned something. I'm like, man, if God is looking out for us, but he also is gonna let it, like, he's the, like I said, he's the one that allows for everyone in this world to say, or he's the final
say.
Final say, I want to say. Thank you. To, when is your time and when it's not. So
however long or short that might be.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit about yourself, man. Like
Correct.
you growing up in church and you've been serving in ministry for so long. When did that start for you? At what age? How'd you know you wanted to be a drummer and do this at a professional level?
I was really young, man. I was like 2-3 years old, but with no intention or thoughts about doing that as a professional level. It was more like, I love it. I just want to like play drums. I just want to express what's in my mind, and I want, like around 2-3 years old was when I started playing drums at church, but after service. I wasn't playing during the service because if you don't know this, obviously, I think I never mentioned this to you, but when I was a really young boy, like I was shy.
Wow.
Really, really shy.
Introverted.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It got to it was at the point where if let's say so I'm sure you grew up in your Pentecostal church, there's food after, right?
Oh yeah.
Service.
What do they call it?
Talento. So while everyone's having the talento, I was inside church while my mom is pissed off, like, hurry up and get over here and eat. But I was still in there like, I want to play drums. And so I just love the feeling. I just love like the sound of it.
Yeah.
And so while they're eating, dude, I'm just like jamming out. And whenever someone tried to come in and hear me, I'll just stop, freeze, and I'll just get off the drum set because I was really shy. So one of the sisters that was like good friends with my mom, she noticed that and she bought me a drum set. And I was like, I want to say 6-7 years old.
Man, that's so cool.
And so it was like a toy drum set, but it was still like a kind of like a setup if you have two toms mounting in the floor tom and the snare and one crash, the little splash on it.
Wait, what was your first kit? What brand was it?
Man, so
Groove Percussion?
No, it was no, my first drum set ever was a Pacific drum set.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That I still have at the studio.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. But because I got it when I was 21. I didn't have my actual drum set till I was 21.
Okay, got it.
Because I kept using my churches.
Yeah.
So back to that, they gave me a drum set. So now you have me playing drums at my house, but every time the neighbors would hear that, they'll come in and peek in the window, and I had this feeling, we all probably have that feeling like someone's looking at me. So I turned around, I'm like, oh, so I would just hide, and I don't want them to see me playing. And what really motivated me to get out of that, how would I call it? I want to say a bad habit of like being shy around, like playing around other people, was when I kept listening to Marcos Witt, Fred Hammond. My mom introducing me to Mahalia Jackson. She was an old school gospel artist. So she introduced me to her. And so every time I listened to that, I was the person that was listening to the production. So I was paying attention to the crowd.
Yeah.
I was paying attention to how they recorded the drums at that time. Now my ears are always open on the musicians, vocals, if there's a choir.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was just paying attention to drums. But I would always pay attention as well to the crowd when they're clapping at the end of a song. And I'm like, man, like one day I want to do that, you know? But I gotta get out of my my own
Yeah, like comfort zone.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I gotta get out of this, like being shy in general. And so in those years back in my church, like when I was 5 until like 9 years old. So there was a gap right there of my age in my church where there was no drum sets anymore because the drummer left. And so my pastor was like, all right, take out the drums. It's taking space. Nobody wants to play it. So they'll look at me. Do you want to play it? Nah, I'm being shy. No. Okay, take it off. So I'm like, oh. So now from that age 5 till 9 years old, there's no drum set for me besides the little kit I had in my house. So, and then I would get in trouble in school because there's no drum set at my church anymore. So I'm banging the tables with the pencil. Danny, stop it. Until 9 years old. One of my old friends, which, I still stay in contact with, he influenced me to Dennis Chambers. He's the one that gave me that VHS back then with him playing on his Green Pearl kit.
Yeah. Is that the instructional one?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
Yeah. That really, really motivated me as well to get back on the drums. So by age 9, man, my friend, it was a weekday service, and he brought this Pearl export. It was a 12, 14, 16 toms. And I'm like, man, there's a drum set again at church. So he's setting it up with his brother. And then I'm sitting in the first row just looking at the drums like, wow, this is a nice kit. It had some really nice custom crashes. And I'm just like scoping him like, this is nice. And he noticed me. He's like, hey, you want to play? And so everything right there hit my mind. Like, this is your chance. This is where you can get out of that comfort zone and not be shy, but you're going to be rusty. I remember these thoughts in my head. I'll do it. So I hopped on the drums that one day, and I'll never forget, everyone's eyes were on me because, I was like, that little boy's playing drums,
Man.
So in my mind, it was my own battle. It was like, don't be shy. Just keep playing.
Yeah.
And then ever since that was 1999. Ever since 1999, I'd never stopped playing drums. So ever since then, like I said, when the drum sets came back, I officially got back on the drums in 1989. And then ever since that, by 15, we had our really strong worship team with a couple of friends from my old church. And then from that worship team, eventually we started playing at different events from our denomination. I came out of Church of God.
Right.
So that's where, I met the Vegas as well. And in that denomination, they had like these events where every church would gather like 2-3 times a year. And that's how we would always get invited most of the time to lead worship. So those were my experiences of like getting the feeling of playing with a semi bigger crowd, a congregation. That in those events we had like at least 500 to 600 people coming over.
Yeah, it's a decent amount,
so
man.
To me, man, I'll never forget the feeling. Like, I am now nervous because I'm playing with a bigger crowd, and like, man, like this is pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I thank God that in those years of me playing in those we call them conventions and conferences, it helped me out as well to get out of not to feel nervous anymore in the kid.
Yeah.
And also helped my like, if we're talking techniques now, it helped me so much because in the beginning I was so stiff. At the end of the conference, like, why is my forearm like it's so painful right now? But because all that was just like, it was practice.
Yeah.
And I never seen it. Don't get me wrong. I never seen it as like, I'm getting ready to like do bigger stuff. Like, no. I appreciated that present moment. I always appreciated my surroundings in that day. And my connections, it's crazy how like my connections and networks was always with pastors in those conferences. And then youth camps. Then we started playing in youth camps.
I remember those too.
Winterfest, which actually back in days wasn't called Winterfest. It was called Fulfill Your Destiny youth events that we used to do them at. It's around here.
Pinecrest?
No, it was a church. It was a church.
Oh, church. Echoes of Faith.
Echoes of Faith. Yeah. So we used to do them there, and I remember that Maple DW kit.
Dude, that kid's still there.
Oh,
that
is?
Yeah.
That was a beautiful kit, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, being there, it'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna have a DW kit. But being there was one of my coolest experiences with the worship team.
Yeah.
And then after that, just growing up, by age 19 is when, no, 20, I'm sorry. 20 is when I started traveling. And it was like meeting some friends from Arizona. I was in Phoenix for a couple months. I was living out there. And there I networked with a friend. Till today, we're still good friends. He's about to get married on Friday. I want to mention him.
Nice.
Danny Herrera. I think if you hear this, congratulations. Marriage is awesome, my man. I'm going to tell you that. So him, my friend Danny Herrera, I met him in Phoenix, and he connected me with this worship leader that he was touring with. Literally, he was going all the time in the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire, all the neighbor states there.
Yeah.
And so he besides like me being good friends, is like, hey man, my band needs a drummer. Would you be down to do it? It's like, oh snap! Like I've never ever traveled as a musician. So to make that short, we start traveling, and that's when I got that urge and feeling like I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this, and I want to just keep finding any doors that are open. I'm just gonna leave it in God's hands. And sure enough, when my 3 years ended with the worship leader, things were popping up here and there, and it was all just because I was traveling with this worship leader. His name is Chris Gonzalez.
Okay.
And so when being with Chris, dude, like so many doors have opened. Like at NAM as well, that's where I met a lot of other people. In the first years, I'm sure we can all relate. The first year you go to NAM is like,
oh my gosh,
I don't know where to go.
Yeah,
like,
you
dude,
had a candy store, bro.
Yeah. And then your third, fourth year, you just go to go watch live shows and stuff. But then years later on, that's when I started to notice like I should network and I should talk to people. And so in one of those, that's how I met Chuy Becerra, who is the bass player for Eric. So I met him, but more as like, get to know you, like what you do, like I've heard about you. And then I mentioned it to him. I was like, dude, if you ever need help on drums, let me know. I'll be down. And months later, he calls me in to like that they needed a drummer as well. So, I come in till today. I think it's now 7 years. I'm still playing drums with Eric.
Man, that's incredible, dude.
Dude, like a lot of people can criticize Eric because musically, like it's something you wouldn't listen in the car. I want to label it as like it's the type of music where our parents would listen, what they would listen to, And so even though we try to make it, we have made it sound. We try to make it sound like newer sounds,
like more
newer
modern,
tones.
more modern.
Yeah,
Sure.
So we have done that, and we just recently recorded a track featuring Jesus Molina. So, dude, just him having come in is like it's a total, like talking musically is a totally different aspect from what it was like in the past 5 years. But like I said about Eric, like people can like I've gotten people criticizing me like, dude, why are you with Eric? Like, man, it's like music's whack. It's like it's not about that, dude. It's not about that, and you're missing the point.
Yeah,
it's really about your relationship with that person. And if you know that this person, besides being a good friend, is gonna take care of you, you stick with him.
Yeah.
Like I've had this guy, I've had Eric, like I said, for 7 years, has never ever failed on me. Ever. Like even to the point where I got married in my first months, I was broke. I'm like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna pay my bills? And I was shy to ask my parents because I know my dad's gonna tell me, I told you so. So for me not to hear that, like Eric's been like a second father figure to me. So I text him like, dude, like, I'm kind of stuck right now, man. I don't know how I'm gonna do it for this upcoming rent. Is there a way you can help me right now and I'll pay you back? Yeah, man. How much you need? Like
Wow.
this much and this much. I got you. Here, I'm gonna sell it to you fast. He gave it to me. I paid him back. But things like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
I appreciate people like that because at the end, they'll be there for you. And so he's one of them. And I really, really appreciate his friendship because like every time we're on the road with him, he doesn't want us to pay for anything. Like besides the flights and all that's been covered, even when it comes to food, or even snacks, like little things you want to buy in your own snacks, like no, I'm gonna pay for it. I got you. So I appreciate people like that
Yeah.
look out for you.
Yeah.
And when it's outside of the music aspect, like just to hang out, I'll never forget. Like we went camping, and he said, "I'm paying for the place. You guys enjoy your time. I got all this covered already." Like, cool, man.
Man,
Like it's and it's not about like I'm taking advantage of him, but it's also like we take care of him too.
Yeah.
So if he's doing that, like let's try to do it for him too, and we have done that. So that's the reason why I really admire and appreciate Eric. It's just his heart is his heart is all about giving.
Man.
So, dude, like
Yeah, that's good, dude.
yeah.
I think loyalty is a scarce term nowadays, man, because they get tired or it's like, okay, I've been doing this long enough. I've had my good run and now it's on to the next thing.
Mhm.
It's very, very rare that you find people that stick to and commit to one person or one artist. If you find the balance and you're able to do it and the artist has been good to you, you should commit and you should stay, if they've taken care of you in that way, especially beyond the spectrum of just music and they're actually good friends and they've been there for you in your tough times, man, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
You were just talking about right now how marriage is such a great thing.
Mhm.
How long have you been married for?
So I am now 2.5 years married.
Okay.
I got married in July 14th, 2018. And it's many people have told us like, man, your first year is gonna be tough. Your first year is gonna be a little harsh. And unfortunately, I have like seen and witnessed friends and relatives that have gone through that 1 year.
Yeah.
But I want to say my side, like God's been good, man. God has really, really allowed us to grow in I don't want to say in a cheesy way, but in a happy way.
Yeah.
To the point where the times our first year, right? We traveled here and there. And dude, like for me to witness her enjoying it, because the reason why I say this is because my wife growing up has only been in church, school, and work. And that's it. So those three repetitive circles, that's been her almost like her whole lifetime. And I'm not saying that she was like, stressed out or frustrated in that. Like she enjoyed that life. She told me she would tell me herself, like, I enjoyed it. Like for her, it's all about family. So, but she's never ever traveled much. So in our first year, like when we did a couple when we traveled, she's never been to like San Francisco. That was one of our first destinations. So like for her, like for me to see her face, like, wow, like looking around, like that makes me happy.
That's awesome.
That makes me happy. And the fact that I know the city very well already, like, let's go here. Let's go to the Girardelli Square. Let's just go to the Golden Gate Bridge, the Bay Bridge. And when I'll never forget, when we're going through the Golden Gate Bridge, she's just like looking up, like, I never thought I was going to be here. So things like that is just makes me motivated to keep doing this more with her.
Did you get the chance? I don't know if since you visit San Francisco, so not a lot of people know this, but I go to San Francisco besides last year. I've gone the last 8 years, once a year during Thanksgiving break. I'll go for 3-4 days the week before Thanksgiving, right? And I normally go to this place called La Mar Cevicheria, which is a Peruvian restaurant on Pier 1.5 or 1.5. It's by Embarcadero. Have you gotten a chance to visit there?
I don't think so.
The seafood is fresh.
Yeah.
You can get jalea, the ceviche mix. So they provide like 4 different types of ceviches there.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but it's well worth it. So if next time you're out there, man, you got to hit that place up. The lomo's like $40, by the way.
Okay.
So that's...
Wait, what?
Yeah.
It must be bomb.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's really good.
Okay.
But anyway, continue.
Once we're done with this, I'm going to have to put in my Yelp account. I'm a Yelper. I tend to put reviews too.
Oh,
So
you want to? My girlfriend's the same way, man.
yeah. There's only one bad review that I left
Wow.
on a restaurant that was close to my old church. And I'll
Oh.
never forget, like, you want to come and have fun and swat flies away? Come to this spot. I forgot the name of the place, but don't even care about the place. But that's the
Dude,
one bad review I left.
that's funny, man. But you were saying about your wife and how happy it makes you to see her rejoice in those moments, like that you get to like have her be a part of.
Yeah, like we've had our, obviously every marriage will go through its bad times, but thank God, and I recommend before marriage you take your premarital class, because all those lessons that you'll get from either a counselor or a pastor, whoever deals with you in the
Yeah.
premarital class, whatever the suggestions or lessons you get from them, they're gonna stick in your head. And I'll never forget, dude. Like, we had my wife and I had this one petty argument about that. I know that not all gas stations are the same. Hers was, you're wrong. All gas stations are the same, because her dad used to work for Arco. I'm like, I hate Arco. I'll never.
That's
put
like
Arco.
water, man. That kind of gas is water, bro. Even the premium one. Yeah.
And so I said the same thing. And she's like, how can you say that? Like, my dad worked there and he would always see, like, when they open the containers for the trucks to put, like, no. You can tell by the performance of your engine. We had this big argument and it got to the point where she's crying. So then it hit me, like, right there. I'm like, and I told him, like, why are we crying, or why are we arguing about a gas station that's not in our control, But at the end, I'm right. Let's just say it has, some gas stations have detergent. No, stop it. I'm like, all right, I'll stop.
Dude, that's
Like,
so funny.
And so that was one lesson that our counselor was Tanya Panyawa, which now she has her own ministry. I forgot the name of her ministry, but she was our premarital counselor, and I'll never forget that she said, when arguments come, talk about it. Don't go to sleep with it, because that's not going to help.
Yeah.
It's not going to function. You're not going to be able to sleep in peace. You're going to that frustrating feeling, like, I was right.
Yeah.
It's going to keep you awake.
Yeah.
So do not ever go to sleep with having arguments. Just talk about it before going to sleep. So yeah, dude, like, and it wasn't like we're ready going to bed. We're still in the car talking, arguing about the gas stations. But little things like that, it's just that's why I suggest go to premarital classes. And that's what hit my head. I was like, nah, let me be a big man and just let's just clear this up. Like, until today, like, let's not argue about gas stations. You see 76 right there? It says detergent. Yep. But anyways, we laugh about it.
Dude, that's so good.
We laugh about it. And that's the thing. That's what marriage is about.
Yeah.
You gotta, there has to be communication.
Yeah.
If there's no communication, it's just gonna be like dull after.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start seeing relationships, like, and you can see it, like, if you go to a restaurant, let's say you and your girl go to a restaurant, and you're gonna have dinner. Sometimes you unfortunately start seeing this couple on another table. They're just like on their phones their whole time. They're texting. The food comes, and they're still texting. And then at the end, once the food comes in, they're eating. They're done eating, back to their phone. I'm like, I told my wife, like, because this happened once. I'm like, I hope we don't turn like that. Because when it comes to the eating at the table, it's about me and you. We're gonna talk. We're gonna like how was your day?
Yeah.
Like, how do you see yourself with your coworkers? Having topics. Because what's the point of being married, but you acting like if you're alone at a table, sitting down and just be on your phone? Like, no, dude. Like,
yeah.
And in general as well, like, nah, there has to be, like, you have to do your part, like her and myself as well. Like, we all have to do our parts into sparking, having fun in marriage. There will be moments where you're gonna have arguments, but don't ever let that get to you, or just talk about it.
Yeah.
You got to talk about it, I meant to say. So, but yeah, man, that's
good, dude.
Yeah.
How about faith, bro? I know you grew up in church, and
Yeah.
I know faith is a part of our lives in such a big way, but how pivotal has that been for you in the most difficult moments of your life? The times that you face tremendous adversity,
Mm-hmm.
be it with family, with friends, just situations we go through as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
How important has that been to you?
Oh, very, very important, man. Like I think a lot of us can relate or say stories about having faith, especially in 2020.
Mm.
Dude, like my goal, like I mentioned, like I shared to you earlier today about the years of me as a musician. Um, One of my goals later on was to have a studio. I've always wanted to have a studio.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, um, before getting married, those thoughts were coming in my head like, all right, I'm gonna have my own place. I don't want to live with my parents. I want to have my own place with me and my wife. Um, we're gonna start with an apartment, and our goal is to have a house, right? It still is. So, I'm gonna have all this, but then that means I might have to sacrifice on not having what I want as a studio, gear here, there. And I'm thinking as like as someone that just wants to spend and spend and
Yeah.
spend on things that they want, but don't think smart as like not everything has to be paying retail. So back to what I was trying to tell you is that once I got married, like I started noticing my bills, and then finally I got settled. I'm like, all right, I'm getting the hang of this now. I'm getting the hang of this. 2020 hits, and then we're all stuck at home. Like, how am I gonna do it? All right, thank the Lord. And like EDD came in, but like this is not gonna do it as much. So I practiced faith there, man, and I'm not gonna say like I never did. I've always believed in faith, But 2020 to me, like faith
Mm.
has been put into practice.
Yeah.
Like and here's how it went. Like now I have a studio in
Wow.
2020. I got a studio, worked along with my friend Gilbert, and finally when I bring in all my gear, I'm like, man, I never thought this was gonna happen. And I'm not working. I'm not
Mm.
working. We can't work. We can't fly anywhere. We can't do all these things that I do with the company. So I'm like, man, like how did this happen? Like, and practically it was just, having faith and like, you know what? God's gonna have our back. If he watches over the sparrow, he'll be watching over us,
That's
dude.
good, dude.
So
Yeah.
man, like faith, I put it into practice that year. And till today, dude, like now I'm kind of getting back to work. But in 2020 as well, like I mentioned, I know I wasn't working, but I was still doing side gigs. I
Yeah.
was helping out other churches
Yeah.
getting their live stream started. So a lot of them didn't know what to do. Like, how do I present this on my Facebook page? And so that's how work came in for me. So besides EDD, like I was helping out different churches, and then my desires that I've always wanted has been accomplished with having the studio. So now I can finally record. I'm like,
Yeah.
great, but I can also take care of now, be home. So I'll be looking out for my wife as well. And so back to, like I said, faith, man, like if you don't put it into practice, it's like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
God tells us himself, like if you have the faith in the size of a mustard seed, like that's pretty much
All you need.
all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's good.
but I know we can do more than a mustard seed. It's just like each of us went through a level in 2020 as of like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like these bills are not gonna stop. So everyone has their own stories, but
Yeah.
my story is about like practicing faith has been like, God providing me all these desires, but it's just, putting faith into practice.
Yeah.
So
That's good, man. Where can people find you, man? Social media. I know that you're pretty active on there. You post some funny stuff, dude. Your stories. Oh, I always look forward to your stories, dude, because it's either bringing up memories of like the Spanish church or like church fails. Like it's always so good. So where can people find you?
So on I'm more active on Instagram. You can find me as Danny D0K, which is Doc. On Instagram, on the same name should be for TikTok. I'm getting into
Yeah.
TikTok. I went viral on TikTok.
You did.
I went viral for one video. I did a video about my wife. Once you get married, you'll know this.
Was it the one where you were vacuuming?
Yes.
Okay.
So for those that have never seen it, it's practically about our wives tend to drop a lot of hair on the carpet. So, I'm the clean guy at home. So I tend I passed the vacuum and the vacuum was not sucking in trash anymore. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm still seeing that little trash on the carpet and it wasn't sucking in. It's like, all right, let me check this out. And I'm a handyman too. So, and I lifted up that rolling brush on the vacuum was full of all the hair that comes from her scalp, dude. So I just recorded, but not intending to like make a TikTok video. I'm probably gonna like put this on my story. But it got to the point where I just ended up editing that video and it got to like almost 100,000 views right now. So it's now 96K likes. And I lost count as well how many likes I have in total of that account. But just her. And then every time like she's brushing her hair, I'm like, make sure you pick it up. And it's like, nope, that's what made you viral. You're welcome. I'm like, oh.
If that's what worked, you got to keep doing wife chronicles or something like that, man. That's funny.
It's just hard when you have to like edit every other time.
Sure.
So that's why I tend to stick right now most of the time with posting on my stories.
Yeah,
just 15-second clips.
Yeah.
But my Instagram page is like you'll find some music content, but the most of the content on my Instagram is just
like comedy.
My stories
stuff.
is comedy stuff. Could be church comedy, could be outside comedy, could be sports comedy,
right? Or
sports in general. I'm a sports fan, but most of the time I love to post memes. Like in general, I like to laugh with people.
Yeah,
I'm all about just having good times with friends and laugh.
Yeah,
jokes.
That's great.
Without passing that boundary of being,
like disrespectful.
Disrespectful. Thank you.
Yeah. You have a YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel, I don't really post much, but I have some videos there of playing on the drums. It's I think it's YouTube. Just search my name. Dang, I don't remember that one. I think it's DRH818.
If not, I'll also include it in the description below for people. I'll look it up and find it on there.
And then Facebook as well, Danny Herrera.
All right.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 42 of Sir Kevin Says with Danny Herrera. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys on the next one.